answer your questions about paint and wallpaper. And a good morning. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. Coming up this weekend is something that has happened a couple of times in the past now, and it is really unique. The 5th annual Grit Your Grief Run the Runway event put on by the Children's Grief Center. And a couple of folks with us this morning to talk about it. First of all, from the Children's Grief Center, we say good morning to Chris Sobering. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Art.
And from MBS International Airport, its manager, we say good morning to James Kanders.
Morning, Art.
So, what's it like to call the FAA and say, we're going to close down the runway because we're going to run on it?
It's always a challenge, and working with Chris over the past few years, I've known to do it earlier and earlier now. I submitted the paperwork back in, actually, November 4th is when I submitted it, and I got some of the final paperwork approved, and I didn't want Chris to know this, like, last week.
Oh, well, Chris, how did this idea of running a runway come about?
Sorry, I'm still in shock from what he just said. That it was all
I knew it
was going to go through, Chris. I wasn't worried.
What's the difference? A day, a week, a month, as long as it's approved, right?
That's right. As long as and I have all the confidence in James. Back to your question, how did this come up? So I've been the executive director now at the Children's Grief Center for 3 years, and 3 years ago we were trying to figure out where the next run was going to be. Shout out to Andy Brady of Dig Deep Races. I asked him, he helps us out with this, and I asked him, where do the runners want to go? Where would they like to be? And he said, well, I just happen to have an idea. And so he shared this idea. We got connected with James, and
you said, what?
Oh, no, I was all about it. So that's how the idea came to light, thanks to Andy's idea for doing this, and James agreed, and here we are now 3 years later with the event bigger than it's ever been.
Were there other airports that have done this before?
Oh, yes. I've worked at some airports that have done this in the past.
Oh, so you were familiar with
it? Yeah, it's a common theme. I want to say Flint Bishop has one, an annual run as well. In fact, I got a lot of the documentation. We love to plagiarize in the airport industry, and they actually provided me with a framework to get things moving.
Like to steal air carriers too, if you can, right?
We don't talk about that publicly.
Well, it's this Saturday, so give us, Chris, the nitty-gritty about the sign-ups and cost and all that stuff.
Sure, absolutely. We're still taking registrations. Happy to say right now, when I checked before I came, we're at 449 registrations.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's great. It's a great number, but they can still keep coming in. So you can register online, childrensgriefglbr.org. There's a button right in the middle of the webpage. All the details are there. But since we're 2 days out from the race, the prices went up a little bit for the 5K run walk. It's $45 for run walkers. It is also, we also have a family color run, which is $20, but for a family of 4, we charge $60 for that. There's a $10 spectator pass where if you don't want to do either of those, but you just want to come check it out, you want to take part in the kids zone, which has lots of activities, bounce houses, tie-dye, and so on, $10 for that. But we have something brand new this year.
I was going to get to it.
I figured you were.
Flying pancakes.
Flying pancakes. So this whole idea, we try and think of something fresh every year. James and I have tried to figure out, can we change the course? And it's really difficult to do that because, as you mentioned, we're not shutting down the entire airport.
Anywhere.
That was one of the big things with the FAA. You're still going to have an open runway, right?
Runway.
Yeah. So we're trying to get something new, and we had an idea before that didn't quite come to fruition. So thanks to James and previously Courtney, they talked about having a fly-in pancake breakfast. And so one thing led to another. I called Chris's Cakes of Michigan. They're out of Clare. They're available. And so we have this flying pancakes. And what that's all about is Chris's Cakes. They've done a lot. They've served presidents. They've served governors. They hold Guinness Book of World Records for the most pancakes served in an hour. And I know there's more that I'm forgetting. But what happens is these
are flying pancakes.
They are, because what they do is they give you an empty plate. And then they toss them at you right off the griddle, and you have to catch them to be able to eat your breakfast.
So where are they going to do this?
It'll be in the same area as where our event is, so they're going to be side by side. There'll be a tent, yeah. Yep, there'll be a tent. Lots of seating out there. There's coffee, Tang, which I haven't heard about in a while, but they have that. They'll be serving that.
What time are they doing this?
We're starting serving at 7:30 in the morning, and we're actually running all the way till 2 in the afternoon. So as many people. And I want to make sure the community knows you don't have to have an airplane to take part in the fly-in.
I was going to ask about that because, James, this is a fly-in also?
Yeah, and
where are you going to park them all?
We're going to park them, actually. I was talking with our flight servicing agency there on the airport, and we'll park them right next to the fire station, right next to the where the start and finish line is. It'll be interesting, and with the run, the way the layout is, you kind of have airplanes moving on both sides of you on one portion of the run. There's all the safety standards would still be met, but there could be times where you have an airplane landing on one side and an airplane taxiing on the other side as you're running on the race.
All right, did the planes have to pre-register to fly in to do this, or they?
No, with fly-ins, it's typically, please just show up. Chris has put out notifications on a couple areas I've recommended to him. And I volunteered at a pancake breakfast a couple weeks ago in Midland. And they just fly in, they park, they come get breakfast, and then they'll take off again.
Right. While you got 500 people running around out on the runway.
It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, the general aviation pilots, they like this kind of stuff. They'll come in and just, it's a unique experience, and so they can put that in their logbook.
All right, so Chris, let's talk about the Children's Grief Center, what it is, how it came about.
Absolutely. We are in our 10-year anniversary this year, and we were founded by Camille Drace Nitschke. And going, I guess, back before Camille got started, we're an idea born out of the Tony and Trish house in Auburn. And Tony and Trish is a home that helps families with end-of-life services free of charge. And my understanding of the history is that they were looking into providing children's grief support, but at the time just didn't have the capacity to do that. So one conversation led to another, and that's how Camille got involved. And Camille has lots of expertise in art and peer group support, and she founded the Children's Grief Center 10 years ago in 24, I guess 11 years ago now, 2014. What we do is we provide a healing environment for children, teens, and their families that are grieving a death. We do that in two different ways. We do that in evening peer support groups, and we actually have sites in Midland, Bay, and Saginaw counties. We bring children and their caregivers together. We always provide them a meal in the evening, but then we talk about a theme for the night, a coping strategy, or something always related to grief, but how they can manage.
Children that may have lost a parent, a sibling, etc.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. We do divide them into age-appropriate groups so the conversation can happen with the right words and the right resources. But then the magic happens, and I don't use the word magic lightly. The magic happens when they all come together and they play together and they talk together and they realize that they're not alone.
Were there national models for this, or was this first of its kind?
There is a national model. So there's a national grief center called the Dougie Center out in Portland, Oregon. And prior to getting this all off the ground, Camille and a couple others traveled out to Portland, Oregon for training, and then came out here and started the model here in the Great Lakes Bay region. There are other grief centers in Michigan. There's one up in Traverse City and one down in the Ann Arbor area and also in the Detroit area, which follow similar models. And there's definitely no shortage of work to be done.
We'll take a break and be back. We'll remind you about the race this weekend, talk more about the Children's Grief Center and MBS International Airport with our guests after these notes.
Looking
And we're back with you here on WSGW in studio. Chris Sabrin from the Children's Grief Center, the Great Lakes Bay region, and the manager of MBS International Airport. The director, he is James Kanders. This Saturday is the run, which is a gritty kind of run. You're running on the airport. Grit Your Grief is what it's called. And how long a run is this on the airport?
It's a 5K.
It's 5K.
5K. Yeah.
Measured?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It took us a little while to figure out that course. There's a lot of backtracking, and so it's
Well,
a
I
little
know.
awkward.
That's why you watch it. You see people going down one way, coming back the other way,
Yeah.
turning.
But it's 5K, and we know there are people out there that will want to see that 5K. So we're trying to get as best we can.
Okay, just as a little comedic relief. The first year we had a twin-engine cargo aircraft practicing over our heads. We're going to see that again.
We shouldn't. I can tell you, pilots are supposed to check the landing conditions of an airport prior to landing, but that doesn't always happen.
They weren't landing.
They were doing
approach.
They were doing low
practices.
approaches, yes. And I actually thought it was neat. I knew what they were doing.
pretty
Some of the
cool.
other people
Yeah,
were.
well, those of us standing out on the runway didn't think it was.
Yeah. So I think that was corrected.
It was pretty funny, though. It was interesting to watch.
Yeah.
We forget, though, but this. We forget that how busy that airport is with cargo. You actually bring in a lot of cargo planes, don't you?
Not as much as we would like. Usually it's a small cargo, but the that one we did, it was an old turboprop cargo airplane from a company that comes in a lot. Sometimes they'll do cargo runs, but most of the time they're just doing practice approaches.
Yeah, well, good for them.
Good for us too. We enjoy seeing it.
Good for you, too. So let's talk about the funds that are raised and how it's used by the Grief organization.
Yeah, I appreciate the question because that's a really important one. Every dollar that's raised through this event, in addition to another, our fundraising luncheon that happens in November, our generous donors and sponsorships that we get. But you asked about this event. So even with this event, every dollar that's raised goes to the operations of the Grief Center. And prior to the break, I was telling you about our programming. That's just our evening program. We also go into schools during the day. And our daytime program has just expanded a lot, tremendously, I should say. 3 years ago, we were in about 5 schools across the Great Lakes Bay region. Now we've actually scheduled 55 schools this particular school year, and that's beyond the region. So
Is it beyond your capabilities to do?
well, actually, we're getting real close. We've had more calls come in, and we've started a wait list for next fall. But what that does is that takes the cost to run our programs and the cost to run the nonprofit organization. It's almost doubled what we need to meet this need that's out in our communities. Being a previous teacher myself and school administrator, I've always made my life's work of working with people and trying to help them succeed. It's very difficult for this executive director to say no, to say no to people when they need help. So, like I said, we've started a wait list for schools for next year, but the more support that we get, clearly the more support we can give the community in this grief space, which, as we've done some research, we're the ones to do it. We're the ones that help schools close a gap, which, like I said, as a previous educator, I know schools have a hard time with this particular piece. When we get feedback from our school program and from our evening program that once the kids get into it, they experience what we have for them, their confidence grows, their academics improve, and their overall relationships and emotions start to get better. Now, I won't say healed, because grief is something that's constant. Grief is grief. Some people it does get better, many others it doesn't, but it just is what it is, and we help kids navigate it.
And the thing about it, as I have found out when I lost my wife 2 years ago, it sneaks up on you.
Right.
In the beginning, it's obviously there. When you lose that someone, it's right there. It's right in your face. And then you get on with life. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning, you can't get it out of your mind.
Yeah. Right.
Everybody grieves differently, though, don't they?
100%. There's not a pathway. We've heard of the stages of grief, but we like to look at it more as a very messy line, right? Because you could go from what is considered stage 1 to stage 5 to stage 2 to whatever, and everybody's different. And so what we try and provide is ways to navigate. We call it a journey to especially help kids, but we also help their caregivers too. We do run a concurrent peer support group for the caregivers that bring the kids, so the kids and the caregivers have a common language when they go home. And we're careful to say caregivers because, Art, you made the point earlier that several kids have lost their parents. Their mom and their dad have died. So the money that's raised through this event helps us continue to help the kids. And with the expansion, I've been able to hire another therapist to help out. But our strategic plan that we have says that I'd like to hire more. And, these people bring a lot of value. And so the resources that we have support them and, their livelihood and also what we're all trying to do at the Grief Center.
And this Saturday, breakfast starts at 7:30. What time does the run actually get underway?
So people, if they want to register that day, they can come in as early as 8. But we're going to start the run at 10 a.m., the run walk. I want to make sure the community knows that we will start the run, and at about 10:10, though, we have to close the starting line because we can't just have people, coming for the next 45 minutes. The color run starts at 11:30, and people can register right up to that if they want to participate in the family color run. And the kids zone will be open as long as the pancakes are open until 2 o'clock.
James, what does it take to allow 500 people to run around your tarmac and runway?
Well,
security-wise, particularly.
We already talked a little bit about the FAA, and the FAA has one safety and security plan, but I do also have to coordinate with the Transportation Security Administration, and that's TSA, and that's a little more in depth. So they want to know, are there enough people that have the proper airport badging? Are they properly placed to make sure everybody's staying where they need to be? What is your imaginary line for they cannot go beyond this point? And so there's a lot of coordination going back and forth. Again, I started that also in November, and I didn't get that finished until February timeframe.
You just don't open it up and say, come run.
You can't do that. Even though we've done this, a couple times already, and we didn't change it much than we have in the past, the TSA still looks at it with fresh eyes and says, okay, now we want you to do this to be a little bit more secure. A lot of it is based on what's happening in the world.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break, come back with our guests, talk more with them. But again, the run is this Saturday at MBS International Airport. Let me take a moment to ask how you slept last night, because in this day and age when we're asked to do more for less, you theoretically go to bed and spend a third of your life there, and you need quality sleep. You can get it with a quality mattress from Sanitary Mattress. You can visit all the so-called sleep stores, or you can rest assured the mattress you're using is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your dollars are spent and they stay right here in our local economy. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but don't be fooled. You can still get a quality good night's sleep on a Sanitary Mattress. And they feature 1-hour window delivery of your mattress to your home. If you have an RV or a boat, Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you, something the box stores can't do. Visit the Sanitary Mattress factory and showroom serving this area since 1935. Set your GPS to 5343 Janes Road in Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport. Visit them on the web at sanitarymattress.com or call them at 989-753-1757. Take me out to All right, we're back with you in studio with me, Chris Submarine. He is the Executive Director of the Children's Grief Center of the Great Lakes Bay region and the Director of MBS International Airport. He is James Kanders. Before we get back to the race, I want to talk to James for a minute about the airport, because there have been some changes, one of them in parking. And I know you're real happy with it. So tell us what happened and what the change is.
Well, I'm happy with it, but more importantly, I'm getting more customer happiness
And
comments.
that's
and
a good thing.
That's the good thing. Yeah, with the parking system we had before, you had to use a credit card to get in and a credit card to get out, and it was a little problematic. And so the new system, now we're back to issuing tickets as you enter, but it's still a cashless system. So you get a ticket.
Oh, you do get a ticket.
You'll get a ticket, or if you want, you can enter using your phone, but you would also exit using your phone. It's got higher quality license plate readers, so most of the time, if you pull that ticket or use your phone to enter, the gate will go up, and then when you go to leave, it'll automatically read your plate and tell you, it's like, okay, here's your parking session, here's what you have to pay, and you pay with a credit card right there at the exit. Or you can go to our airport website, mbsairport.org, and make a reservation for parking to make it even easier.
So you can reserve online and pay online.
Correct.
But you still have the option of inserting the credit card when you leave.
Correct. And a lot of people, they seem to like the tickets a little bit better. They've got that physical ticket
Well,
in
it's
their hand.
physical. You know, you're not guessing.
Yeah, and since there is no person there to take the ticket when you arrive, it's got a QR code that you would scan at the exit on a little glass plate reader there.
And the system is in place now?
It's been in place for about 6 weeks now. And the biggest thing is I really don't know how well it's operating because I don't have to deal with it anymore. So in my mind, it's running very well. I'm not hearing anything about it. It's doing very well.
So while we're on the subject of parking, where are all these people going to park Saturday when they come to the airport?
So for those familiar with the old terminal location, it's in the center of the airport off Garfield Road. It's in the back. It's the old short-term parking lot area. And the whole event is in the grass area where the old terminal used to be. So centrally located off Garfield Road on MBS.
Just so everybody understands, the road that led to the terminal is still accessible.
It's still accessible. I would not go down that road leading into the center road leading into the old parking lot. We have Consumer Energy. They've got a lot of piping and everything in there this year.
Oh.
So it's kind of all behind that construction material.
So what's the best entrance to go in?
It would be either off General Aviation Drive, where the hangar line is, or north where the terminal exit road used to be.
So you can go in the exit road.
Yeah, you can go in the exit road to get around all the piles of gravel and construction material we have in the old parking lot.
Wasn't the rental car lot there too?
Yep, you had the rental car lot in that area as well. So and that's where Chris kind of sets up is in that rental car lot.
And 7:30 is the start time for the flying pancakes.
For the flying pancakes, yes, that's correct.
And what's it going to cost for the pancakes?
$10 a ticket.
And that's full breakfast?
Full breakfast. And all you can eat pancakes. I believe there's sausages, coffee, tang, and they'll have all the fixings, the syrup and the butter and so on.
What do you do about parking if you don't have a smartphone? You don't need one, right?
Don't need one. You go up, and it's a digital button, so don't look for a physical button. So you would basically, a digital button says print ticket, and you pull the ticket out, and then you would scan that QR code at the exit and pay with a credit card.
So the only difference really is you're paying with a credit card rather than handing money to somebody in a booth.
Correct.
So it works the same.
Yep.
You don't need a phone.
And worst case scenario, there is a help button at all the kiosks, and this is a U.S.-based call center that responds very well. It's based in Connecticut, so if there's any kind of issue, there's on that kiosk is a help button, and they will help you immediately.
Excellent. Take one more break, come back, and then we'll talk more about the Grit for Grief race at MBS International Airport this Saturday.
Look, there goes another.
The Art Lewis Show. We're talking to James Kanders, director of MBS International Airport, Chris Severin, who is the executive director of the Children's Grief Center of the Great Lakes Bay region. This Saturday is the Grit for Grief 5K run at MBS International Airport, and it really is amazing to watch all these people run that runway. It's a unique experience, first of all. I mean, for me, just going out there in a news car and sitting there on a runway going, oh, this is different. Especially when you have one of those jets taking off right next to you, behind you. It's an experience. It really is. And you got how many runners so far?
Well, just looking, we did. We're enjoying this moment. We are at
threshold. He crossed.
Yes, 451 have signed up two more people signed up during this show. So we have met our goal of 450, surpassed it by one person, and who knows, when I get back, maybe the staff will have decided we have a new goal. I'm not sure.
Well, let's talk about signing up.
Yes.
If somebody wants to sign up for it right now, what do they need to do?
Simply go to our website, childrensgriefglbr.org, and there's a button right at the top of that page that will take you to several links, actually. One to sign up for the race itself. We also have some spots for volunteers. We have 85 volunteers already signed up, but there's a link there for that. There's also a link about the pancakes and so on. So it's all right there on our website.
And it's a 5K run. There's not different divisions. It's just a 5K run.
That's correct. Just one distance.
Is there a walk also?
Yes. So we'll send the runners first, and then the walkers can walk right after the runners go.
And that all starts at 10 o'clock, but you open
Correct.
up for registration at 8.
Correct. If you've already registered, you can pick up your packet pickup will start at 8 o'clock, but we'll take it right up until race time for anybody who wants to day of register and just walk right up and say, I'm interested in running. We'll get you signed up.
And what else is going to be going on near that registration point? Not on the runways themselves, but where you are, where you're set up.
So we worked hard to create a family-friendly event.
Kind of a mini carnival in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, we have bounce houses. We have a kids zone where we're doing lots of the crafts that we do at the Grief Center with our kids. We're bringing those crafts along as well. We have a DJ that's going to be out there. We've already mentioned the color run, which will happen 11:30. That's a family color run. We do have My Soda Parlor is going to be there. They serve various kinds of flavored sodas as well. And in addition to our flying pancake breakfast. So there's really a lot to do. And if you don't want to do the run, please come and it's a $10 spectator pass. You can partake in all of the kids' activities. And we have a special spot in the secure area to watch the race. And with the fly-in, you might see some airplanes flying in too.
And just remember that it all goes to help the Children's Grief Center.
Absolutely. Right? Every dollar to the operations of the Children's Grief Center.
So operationally at the airport, you have all this going on. Are there any commercial flights in and out at that time, or is this sandwiched between them?
Well, there will be some commercial operations going on in the middle of it, and that goes back to why the FAA wanted to ensure that there was a runway open, so the air carriers could come in and go out.
But does it change their taxi?
They may have to do what's called a back taxi, where they land on the main runway, and then they'll have to turn around on the runway and go back. It'll, for those passengers on those planes, it'll be a slightly delayed taxi back, but not, maybe a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not that long. It's not that far.
No.
Well, it's going to be. It is always interesting to see how it plays out. And in terms of the airport personnel, you got everybody. Is it everybody on hand?
Yep. They've been working all this week to get the area prepped. Chris did a walkthrough earlier this week and came up with some concerns, which we were already going to address. I drove it yesterday, and we're going to be ready. And for Chris to start actually probably setting up tomorrow some of the things.
That's correct. Yeah.
So let me ask you, James. You talked earlier about the possibility of a new tower.
Mm-hmm.
How about a building to house some of that big equipment that you've been talking about, that you need to have a building for your garage?
It's only taken about 3 or 4 years of FAA discussions,
Again.
but I finally got the approval, and we're now moving on to what we call the 30% drawings. So we just started that last week, actually.
What's that?
So we go to 30% design, and then the FAA reviews it. Then we can go to 60%. They review it again, 90%. And then after they approve the 90%, we put it out to bid. So this is the first step. I call this stage 2, and stage 1 took 4 years.
That's because government has to get their hands in everything.
Yes. The building had to be designed to an area to determine how much the FAA would pay for versus what the airport would pay for. And there's conflicting documents out there where the FAA says you need to have this, but we're not going to pay for that.
Yeah, unfunded mandate.
That's the term,
That's
correct?
The term.
Yes.
But I'm sure people around here realize it. But MBS is one of the gems of this area that we as taxpayers do not have to support.
Correct. We are an enterprise fund. We are completely self-sufficient.
Which is pretty amazing.
Sometimes it is more
Daunting.
challenging, yes,
Daunting.
but our numbers are actually improving. We do have some good priced flights out of there.